Welcome everyone. I'm having my third day today back at work after parental leave and already taking the lead in this meeting again. Yes, my meeting. Happy to see some of our regular faces again and some new faces. That's great. I'm not sure whether all of you are familiar with the format because we're having new joiners all the time. So there is a doc that we are using for our agenda, and I just put the link for that in the chat. As most of you probably know, we like to take notes in the doc. And also, if you have a question or some feedback that doesn't fit into the allocated time for discussion, then you can also throw that in the doc so that the person presenting can still see your feedback and maybe ask any remaining questions later. And it's important to remember that everyone is a note taker, so feel free to help write stuff down and take care of the feedback so that it doesn't get lost, because I know that when you're presenting stuff, then later on it's much easier to be able to read the notes instead of having to jump back into the recording and look at everything again and figure out where the important parts were said. So yes, thank you in advance for helping to take notes. Yes, Amy, you raise your hand.
So speaking of the recording,
Yes.
One thing that I have a question about as a relatively new joiner is that I presented last week, but I don't know where to find the recording from last week. So how do we make sure we get that?
That is a Zoom issue. I'm not sure how it was handled while I was on leave, but the thing is, at least originally this meeting was set up by Daniel Lee so that it automatically records, but he is the one who gets sent the link. So in the past, Diana and I have been chasing Daniel for the recording link. And because of the way that Zoom works, this doesn't really work any other way, I think, unless they have changed it in the meantime, but it doesn't seem like it. So yes, we always have to manually fetch the link and then throw it in the doc, unfortunately, which can take a bit of time when Daniel is busy. Sometimes we keep asking him for the links for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden we get a bunch of links all at once. So it's not the most convenient. I will see what I can do to maybe make that a bit more streamlined. Yeah, but in the meantime, yes, I will try to get the link for last week for you, because I have not watched that session either. So yes, I'm very curious about it. All right, so we only have one topic on the agenda today, presented by Uche. How can we move in and out of the calendar using keyboard nav? And it looks like it's safe for YouTube, so that's great. Hello, YouTube audience. Welcome to the UX feedback session. And today's topic is hopefully interesting. And if you have any feedback, feel free to drop it in the YouTube comments or in the public Grafana Slack or on our Twitter. We're happy to hear from you. Yes. Uche, do you want to start presenting?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Uche Chukwabasi, and I'm a member of the User Essential Squad. So for today's presentation, I'm here to present the work we've been doing around accessibility, and specifically for the time picker calendar. Before I jump into the solution, I would like to show you what the current state of the time picker calendar looks like. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Cool. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So basically what we have on main for the time picker calendar is basically, you could see I'm trying to navigate to the inputs. That's the absolute time range inputs. And the problem we are currently having right now is we don't have a way we could navigate to the time picker calendar using the keyboard. So basically, in clear terms, the problem is we don't have a way to move in and out of the time picker calendar. And as you can see, highlighting on the inputs, kind of like makes the calendar vanish. So our solution for this was for us to have like a calendar icon right next to the input. Yeah. So basically, if we should navigate to this and using the keyboard, that's using the tab, highlighting on the calendar icon, you could see there is this focus. Like you could see that it indicates this focus thing. And basically clicking enter, you can move into the calendar, and using the tab, you can move in and you can move within the calendar. Then if you want to move out of the calendar, you could just press escape and then it returns focus back to the calendar icon. And yeah, I would also want to mention that this is how it looks like on narrow viewports currently. So basically, we want to maintain some form of consistency between how it looks like both on narrow viewports and also on wider viewports. So yeah, I'm here to seek some feedback on how we can better improve the user experience of this particular component. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I have some questions. So the first one is, did you tab the whole way through all the previous week, previous month, previous year stuff, or did you use arrow keys?
It's basically, okay.
And when you move around within the calendar, do you use arrow keys or the tab?
Okay, so for moving around the calendar, we use the tab key for now. Reason is because under the hood we use like this particular library that basically renders the dates for us. So yes, we can implement the arrow keys for that, but it's going to be way hacky. So for now, just for the current prototype we have, basically we use the tab. And for moving in and out, basically we use the tab to move in, and then we use the escape key to move out of the calendar. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
I also have a question. You said to get out of the calendar, you have to hit the escape button. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way to get out of the calendar. It's not so that you can click somewhere else and get out of it, maybe, or maybe just hit enter or something.
Yeah. So for the escape button works when you navigate the calendar using the keyboard. You can as well click outside of the calendar and then it closes. So for example, if we should click here and then click outside, the calendar closes automatically. So yeah, it works both using escape and escape primarily for the keyboard navigation, and then you can click outside if you are using the mouse.
Okay. So when I click outside of the calendar, is the date that I chose chosen, or will it disappear again?
So basically clicking inside or clicking the calendar icon, you could tab in to select the date. So once you click a specific date, you can either press escape or click outside. And then, the only time it applies is when you click the apply time range, the apply time range button. So you can, so let's see. So tabbing in, let's say we clicked the 3rd and then we click till 7th. You could see like it automatically updates the input, and you can just escape and navigate to the apply time range button. So yeah, this is basically what we have currently.
Okay.
So a follow-up question to that. If you only click on one day, then the picker doesn't update. Is that correct? It looked like it.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
yeah.
like if you wanted to do from September 3rd, 0 o'clock to September 3rd, 23:59:59, then you couldn't do that within that picker, right? You'd have to do it manually. Is that correct? You couldn't click twice on the same date and then make it like have that 1 day range, right?
I guess we can only do this by trying it out. So let's say we click 3 and then we click it again.
It did work. Nice. Okay, good.
Yeah, it did work. So you can actually.
Cool. That's good. I wanted to make sure because otherwise that would be confusing. But I guess I do kind of see Nihat's point, or at least I think that was your point, that maybe it's not clear that you can click twice because you have 2 ranges or like 2 timestamps and each of them has their own button. So some people might think that I have to click the top button to pick one timestamp and then the bottom button to pick the other timestamp, but you can do the same thing within one flyout. So maybe it's a bit weird that we have 2 buttons.
Yeah, I would have assumed as well to have click the first one and then the second one. I wouldn't think that I can do both in one calendar, basically.
Yeah, I guess you can do both in one calendar. So basically it works. Yeah, you can do both in one calendar. You can also do both in different calendars. So in as much as, yes, we just clicked the first one, you could still escape and go back to like the second one as well. But yeah, I guess what Jess mentioned about maybe having one calendar icon, I don't know, maybe that could make more sense.
Then we should also think how the mouse interaction works right now, because what I'm seeing is that it behaves the same way when you use the keyboard to select the dates that when we use the mouse. So if right now you just open the calendar and click on the first date, the date doesn't update until you select the end date. So we would also have to figure out how that works with the mouse. You know what I mean? Like it would change the interaction for keyboard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get you.
If I made myself clear there. It's easy when I see it happening on my screen.
Yeah, I think I got your point. So basically, like, we could try as much as possible to have the same interactions we have using keyboard with the mouse. So we shouldn't have like 2 different ways of interacting.
Yeah.
With mouse and keyboard. Okay.
Maybe it's not just that, but also simply the visual feedback, because right now you have clicked on something, so you have changed something with the mouse, but the fields haven't updated because you have only clicked on one date. And that might be confusing. As a user, I clicked, I did my interaction, and I'm not even seeing that the fields haven't updated, because with all the numbers, like there is no way to tell, have they properly updated or not? You would have to look closely to see that. And now if I click apply, then actually it's not apply, like a wrong time range is applied then, right? So that might be confusing because it might not be clear that, oh, I need to click something else in order to update the field because I've only clicked once now.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like the whole interaction right now is just confusing, but it's nothing to do with the keyboard navigation.
Exactly.
Going in and out of the calendar we're talking about that which you brought up, but it's more like it's just weird.
It's because there is no visual distinction between the beginning and end of a range and the in-between area. So basically right now, the interface doesn't tell me that I have only done half of the needed interaction. It looks the same. So maybe we need like a half, or like you have done the first click, but you still need to do the second click visual indicator or something.
Can we just update the first field on the first click or selection? I mean, that would solve that.
That's a good point, yeah. And in this case, then I guess the second field would just need to be cleared because
Right.
it might not make sense anymore.
Right.
And then if that's a really good idea, because then we could do field validation. And then if the second field is empty and you try to click on apply, you just get the like red highlight. Oh, you still need to enter something into this field, or you need to click a second date in the calendar. That's a very good idea. I like it.
Back to Chess' question though, because so the challenge that we had here was with keyboard navigation, how do we get into the calendar, right? And without this icon, we found it really hard. Do we think that the icon is going in the right direction? Adding the icon to the input.
I don't remember because I did some UX work on this, but it was ages ago. What are good practices around this? I mean, such a calendar picker with fields, that's quite common. So like, do other solutions have 2 calendar icon buttons as well? Are they just all inaccessible, which I think is probably not the case? I'm not sure. I would probably look at how other solutions do this, and do they have 2 buttons, and is that fine? Or do they only have 1 button? Or are the fields just always linked and the calendar pops up simultaneously for both of them, but there is a better visual indicator that there is 2 dates, a beginning and an end or something? I would probably check that again. Because I think the button is good. I'm just not sure whether having 2 of them is right. Maybe we just need 1. And then the question is where it would be positioned.
Yeah, on that point, I was just looking at Airbnb's website, and they place just like a similar topic. They place check-in and check-out just beside each other. There's 2 input fields, and whenever you click on check-in, there's a slide down with the calendar open, and you can see this month and the next month, because it intuitively already gives the sense that you are supposed to select now and then until when your stay is gonna be. So then whenever you click on the first date of check-in, the field gets updated with that specific date. And then whenever you do that for the checkout, the same happens above when you click on the, when you see the checkout. So yeah, just food for thought to design options here. And it's just 1 calendar, not 2 icons.
I think the Airbnb case wouldn't exactly work for us, because in that case, you can't type in your own dates, right? You need to use the calendar picker.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work keyboard wise.
Yeah, that was the challenge that we had. Because in our case, we need, because you can enter now minus 6 months or something like that. So we need the user to actively go into the calendar if they want to, but not necessarily. Which maybe is we can check something that we explore, but
maybe we can check other observability tools because they have the same challenge, right?
I have another question concerning the time. Is it always from 0 to 23:59, or is it always 24 hours, or can I also edit the time?
I think you can edit the time, but then you need to like do it manually by clicking into the input. So like basically our challenge initially with the time picker was there was, with the first solution we had, there was no way you can directly like edit the inputs. But with this, you can just go in there and maybe add from 1 p.m. to like 3 p.m. something like that. So yeah, it's not always 0 to 23:59. It can be basically anything, so long as it's within the required time range. That's from 0 to 23:59. So
okay, because I don't, as a user, there's not an indicator that I can also change the time. It looks like when I can change the date because of the calendar icon, but it looks like the time is already set for me. So is there unless I do it manually, there's no other way for me to change the time as well, right?
Yeah, so this is one of the things when I was looking at the time picker a few weeks ago that is kind of funny because it's a little misleading that we call it a time picker because you can't actually pick the time. You have to type it. So our name for it is a little off. I think that's definitely something to consider, but I don't know that it's exactly what Uche is trying to do right this moment. It feels like, I mean, I think we've all sort of acknowledged that, and there's a design doc around this, that it's time to kind of revisit this design overall. And I would suggest that that's probably one of the things to look at, just because there are pickers for times and, with all kinds of different elements available, like spinners and stuff, that might be helpful here or might not be.
Yeah, also in the very, very original time picker design way before this one, I think we didn't have such a distinction between absolute and relative ranges. And in the fields that are now labeled absolute time range, you can also enter relative time ranges because we have kind of like a syntax for picking time ranges. And in here, there is no way to even access any hints or documentation about how this syntax works. So if you don't know about the syntax and you click a relative range, then you might see, oh, it says like from now -6 hours to now. And then you're like, oh, I think there might be something going on here. But if you don't like coincidentally stumble upon this, then you might not even figure this out on your own. So maybe we just need a little bit more introduction or like guidance around what these fields actually do and the fact that they do more than just pick absolute ranges.
Cool. I guess all the feedback was super useful. If there's any other comments or feedback, I'm also happy to hear them.
Maybe one thing that I thought about regarding the keyboard usability. I know that people like my mother, who might not be the typical Grafana user, but people who are less tech savvy, they might not think of using escape as the most obvious way to leave something. So I'm not sure whether we should also have like a visual, I don't know, X option to remove the flyout, or do you think our users are so smart that they don't need that?
I think that's a very good point. Currently, the close button exists on narrow viewports, so we could as well add it to, we could also add it to wider viewports. That's a very good point.
Because then, like, if you using a keyboard and you don't think of, hey, I could just try using escape to close the flyout, then you can at least tap until you reach the X and then close it that way.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other feedback or comments? Yeah, then I guess, I mean, thanks a lot for all the feedback. Definitely we'll go back to our drawing board and, try to implement all this useful feedback and improve the UX of this specific component. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Awesome, Uche. Thank you for demoing this. Sometimes it looks like you're so close and then the feedback is actually, like, it brings up more issues than the one that you wanted to solve now. So I guess, sorry, not sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, I hope you will find like an intermediate solution before we go revisit the whole thing and make it better, like on a larger scale. Yeah, and that was the only thing on today's agenda. So thank you, people on YouTube, for watching. See you next time. And as you know, like check out our channel for more UX feedback session recordings and other great Grafana content. All right, now the YouTubers are gone and we will cut that. And yes, is there any feedback that everyone has to improve the session in the future? Maybe we can try and advertise it so that we have more stuff on the agenda, but I mean, having 30 minutes back to our lives is also great. So any other opinions? I guess not. Great. Then thank you all for your feedback as always. Thank you for joining, and yeah, bring good topics that we can discuss. Oh, thank you, Patrick. I'm also happy to be back. Okay, cool. Then enjoy additional 30 minutes of work time for today, and see you again next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.